And welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look at how to create our own parameterized method. So I went ahead and pulled back in that person class that we previously created. And of course here we created methods that didn't have any parameters. So let's go ahead and look at doing some other methods that we can create. So we're going to create what's known as a set method in here to go ahead and do some of the stuff. So we saw, for example, last time we had a set date, but let's do the same thing here, but for our person class. So let's start first by looking at each of these individual variables and saying, hey, can we change those? So let's go ahead and make a public, and whenever you're doing a set method like this, we're going to make these void, and we're going to say set name, open close parentheses, curly bracket, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into those parentheses and create a variable that corresponds to what I want to change to. So if I think about it, the first thing I have is a set name, and if I look at name, it's a string type, so I'm going to add a string identifier, and then I want to go ahead and say what's the name of that variable. Well, you could say string name, but that's going to possibly lead to some confusion. We'll talk about that later on, but right now let's just go ahead and say that this is our new name, and this is a great way to just say, hey, was name, now we're going to make it this new name, and so having this new prefix to the variable is a great way for that to work. And then all I need to do is say that name is equal to new name. And I don't need to do anything more than that to that method because, again, we're not looking to return something because we don't have a return type. It's void. And so we can very easily apply the same technique to do the same thing for other thing here. So our other thing is, of course, age. So we have a public void set age. And I'm just going to go ahead and add that parameter right in now. So it's int. And then we can call this our new age. Add our curly brackets on in here. And we're, again, just going to follow the same pattern. Age is equal to new age. And one thing you'll note is that we always are setting the variable that exists up here first, and then the parameterized variable is what it's being set to equal to. So in this case, it's always, again, the variable that's first is the variable that exists outside the method, while the variable second is the variable that's the parameter. So important to keep that in mind. Now I'm going to do one more so I can show you a multiple parameter method. So let's do public void set person. And in this case, I can do more than one. So we only have two variables here, so it makes it pretty easy. So we can say like string name, and I can do comma, int, age. And you'll notice right now, if I leave this as is, it doesn't give me an error because, again, you can use those. You notice that Eclipse does highlight them in different colors, and we could use this, however, could, again, lead to some issues, which we'll talk about later. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename these to new name, and this one to new age. Again, it's okay that these are the same here. Like, notice this is new name, new name. It's not going to cause any confusion because, as we discussed, these are local variables that only exist to this method. So again, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did in those individual methods. So I'm going to say name is equal to new name. And I'm going to say age is equal to new age. And that's all I need to do to create those methods. And of course, we can add comments for what these methods are doing. But I want to go ahead and show you how we can invoke that here in our main class. So this is, of course, what we did last time. But let me just go ahead and say, let's call it Billy here and say Billy.set. And of course, when I start typing that, we get the option of set age, set name, set person. Let's just go ahead and change Billy's age here. All right, and let's set his age to 32. And then if I go ahead and write output again with that, just so we can see that method in action. So Billy.writeOutput. And we go ahead and rerun our program. All right, we're entering a prompt for name and age, so I'm just going to go add in Billy. And let's have him originally be, let's say, 19. All right, so we get, of course, originally he was Billy and 19. But then you notice it says Billy and 32 because, again, we called this set age method that allowed us to change this value.